Getting to today's business, the matter at hand, will you vote to impeach President Trump?
No, I'm going to vote against impeachment. Obviously, the president bears some responsibility. His action and words uh, obviously were very regrettable in many respects, and he is not blameless. Having said that, I do not believe that his words rise to the level of impeachable conduct. And more importantly, and to the point, with only 7 days left in this president's administration and in his term, I do not see how this impeachment effort provides a path forward to bring the country to the healing and the unity that we need. The president-elect last week, to his credit, said that we do need to turn the page and focus on uniting and healing the country. I agree with President-elect Biden in that. And I don't think an act of political vengeance is likely to produce an outcome that will bring the country together, which is what we so desperately need at this moment.
What will it take to do that? What will it take to bring the country together?
Well, I talked to a lot of my Democrat colleagues about this. We talked to one another in the Congress about what it's going to take. And I really believe it does take personal relationships. We need to recognize that there's a lot of people who are hurting in this country, people who don't trust our election system, people in the Black Lives Matter movement who feel left behind. Of course, none of that sense of disenfranchisement justifies violence in any context, whether it's the U.S. Capitol building, Portland, Kenosha, any of these scenes that we've seen over the last year. But what we do need to do is have a little empathy for one another and sit down and build personal relationships with one another and listen to one another. And I think lowering the temperature and doing a little bit of listening to one another and recognizing that people do feel left behind in this country on both the right and the left, I think will help begin the process of healing.
I'm assuming you're meaning that kind of relationship building on Capitol Hill, but don't you think, and I'm sure you include this, don't you think we need that in every community in America today?
Absolutely, no doubt about it. And we need our leaders in our country to lead by example in that respect. And again, one of the main reasons I am voting against impeachment, but also voted for the certification of the election and for the peaceful transition, is that I believe we do need to move forward in the country. And so we need to lead by example in Congress and be willing to work across the aisle and listen to one another. But in our communities, I think that's important as well. And so I encourage my constituents and Americans all around this great country to do a little bit more listening, have a little bit more empathy for one another, recognize that just because you have a different political perspective or you may have a different political party affiliation, that doesn't mean you're a bad person. It just means that we have a difference of opinion. And in our country, the greatness of America is the fact that we resolve our differences not through violence, but through peaceful transition of power, through elections, and also through civilized discourse and debate. I want us to get back to that place in our country where we find common ground through civilized discussion and debate, having open hearts and minds, and certainly condemning violence in any form.
The Senate Majority Leader has reportedly now sided with those who will vote for impeachment. Are you surprised by this, and why do you think Senator McConnell has turned against the president, if you will?
Well, obviously, some Republicans will be voting for impeachment. Some of my colleagues, not, I don't think a large number, but some will. And I respect colleagues in my party and then on the other side who have to make a decision for themselves. I mean, I've looked at the facts, and I don't think as a legal matter the actions and words of the president rise to the level of impeachment, but others may come to a different conclusion, and I respect that. I think my overarching point is that we do need to lower the temperature and move forward with only 7 days left in this administration, and not do something that looks more like political vengeance. But at the end of the day, I don't think any of this is going to make a difference. We are going to have a new president. We're going to have a peaceful transition of power. And our job as leaders going forward is to try to do the best we can to bring the country together.
One reason cited for the desire to impeach the president by some Republicans has been it might be easier now to expel him from the Republican Party so that the party as a whole can move on. Agree or disagree?
Well, I do think that the president's conduct and words last Wednesday will be taken into account in terms of his political future, if he has one and if he even desires one. So I'm not sure that's really relevant. I think that will all be taken into account. My main focus, though, Nancy, is to do my best to try to bring people together and move the country forward. And I think continuing to try to humiliate the political opposition is really not in the best interest of our country at this time.